I do want to say a few words about why diversity matters in the legal profession and talk about maybe things that we could do to help that mission. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but I do think it's a message that should be reinforced every chance we get because we're really far from where we need to be, honestly. So indulge me a little bit here. So why does it matter? Well, I think there's a common thread that I noticed through the stories of many of the scholars that come through this program, and it's this idea of giving back to your communities and using the law as a way to raise up not just yourself, but others as well. And I think that is truly, that sense of purpose is truly inspiring, and I hope we carry it with you throughout your legal career. But I also want to highlight it because I do think it's one of those things where it makes our profession just so uniquely powerful in that we can advocate for others and give a voice to people that don't have that voice. So just personally, as a lawyer and as a woman at Google, I often find myself as the only woman in a room full of male engineers and business leaders. But I get to play a really important role in that room as a lawyer. I bring a different perspective to things that I don't think is represented usually in those types of situations. And you know, it's funny, we have some of the smartest engineers in Silicon Valley, obviously at Google, like they're really, really smart. But sometimes they're just too smart, and some of the things they do, you know, make total sense from an engineering perspective, but if you take a step back and think about your average user, or worse yet, a regulator, they can result in some pretty unexpected things, and I don't mean that in a good way. And so, you know, I try and put myself in the shoes of those people, the user or the regulator, and try to identify risks that others in the room just can't see. And I think by being different and thinking differently, that makes me effective at my job. But when I think sort of beyond my day job, I would say that, you know, really there are a few professions like ours that have the same impact on society. And the law is everywhere, and I know lawyers are too, especially if you think about all the people who started their careers as lawyers and then went on to, you know, become politicians, lawmakers, business leaders, professors. And I think that's why we really have to ensure that, you know, our profession especially reflects the people in our communities. And unfortunately now more than ever, I think that's really important to be there and give a voice to people who are marginalized or disenfranchised. And I think to do that, we need to give more people who want it access to not just an access to a legal education, but the tools and the skills to really have a successful career in that profession. I think this next generation, many of you are in this room today, can really only do that if you're armed with the knowledge and the confidence and the skills to have a real impact. And whether you choose to stay a lawyer or go into another field and use that experience to become a politician or a business leader, I think it really starts with programs like this that really teach you how to function in a workplace and be effective and you know, really make the most of that time that you have in that career. So obviously we all agree that diversity is important. So the next question is, what can we do about it? And what can we do to bring more diversity to the legal profession? I wish I could just Google the answer and it would say that. But no, this is a tough problem with no easy solutions. But I did want to think about sort of, you know, what can I tell you tonight that might sort of help us get started? And so, as I do with most of my team meetings, I end it with a to-do list for everybody. So here's my to-do list for you. So for the students in the room, I would say, please don't lose sight of where you came from and, you know, that passion for helping others. Don't take for granted how inspiring that can be to be around that type of enthusiasm and energizing for other people. Stay in touch with the peers that you've met through this program or elsewhere. I think, you know, really investing in those relationships and helping each other out whenever you can is immensely valuable, and it will pay off in spades later on when some of you are partners, judges, GCs, professors. It's that network that will be a really powerful source of opportunity and support for you. Be vocal and be present. Try and say something in every group discussion or meeting that you're going to be in, even if it's just asking a question or maybe recapping something that somebody else said. Sit in the front of the room, sit at the table. I mean, when I was younger, I would sit, kind of on the side because I didn't want to be noticed, and people would be like, you need to sit at the table. And so I finally learned, like, you really have to do that to make people feel like you're there. And this one I think is really important. Seek out not just mentors, but sponsors. Sponsors will be those people at your firm or at your company who are in a position of power and who can advocate for you when you are not in the room and give you a shot at the opportunities that will really catapult your career in a way that I don't think mentors can. So really try and find somebody, whether it's somebody you work with or somebody you share a common interest with, and develop that relationship. But it's usually somebody that you're working with that I think makes a great sponsor. And I know you all are used to working hard, but I also want you to know that a lot of your success will be due to sheer luck and coincidence, being in the right place at the right time, so to speak. I know that that's contributed a lot to my own success, but that doesn't mean you should sit back and idly twiddle your thumbs. You should keep working hard. Be willing to do more than your job description. Be really open to constructive feedback. Be nice to everyone. Don't burn bridges. And use whatever time you have to really, truly prepare so that when that opportunity does land in your lap, you're really ready to take it. Now, for the rest of us who are in the room, I haven't forgotten about you. And especially those who might be in a position to help these wonderful students. I think, I guess I'll say just showing up and supporting this program is a wonderful start for sure. But I do think there's little things that we can do in our day-to-day jobs that will really help others thrive and feel included. And it's things like, in a meeting or that group discussion, pay attention to who's the quiet one, who maybe isn't speaking up as much, and actually encourage them to say something, maybe before the meeting, or maybe sit next to them and be like, maybe you should say something. And if they do say something, help amplify their voice by acknowledging it and giving them credit. And the important part is doing that in front of other people, because I think that really makes people stop and think about that, and maybe they'll also do the same thing. And if you have a say in promoting people or evaluating their performance, especially now that I'm in that process right now, it's important to take a moment outside, during that process and really ask yourself whether you are giving credit to and recognizing different styles of leadership that don't necessarily conform to what you might consider the norm in your firm or your company. And I think the other part would just be, if you're at a place like Google, a lot of relationship building happens in a social setting, whether it's off-site activities or a bunch of people going out to a bar after work. I still remember being a junior associate at the law firm in New York and feeling like I had to go take golf lessons or I wasn't going to fit in. And be able to develop those relationships with the really important partners and the clients and all of that. And frankly, no offense, I don't like golf. I never have, never will. But there I was at Chelsea Piers learning how to play golf because that was the activity that everybody did. And I think we need to be more open-minded and try and plan those types of things with more inclusiveness in mind and trying to find things that are universally appealing and interesting to people. And then lastly, I would just say that for that to-do list, there's a lot going on in the world these days, and I think it's important for us to openly recognize that how events outside of work, whether they be, unfortunately, police shootings or immigration orders, can really impact people in different ways and really really affect how they show up to work. And I think it's important to acknowledge that and create an environment where people feel like they can talk about that stuff openly. and really be their true selves at work. So I've left you with a nice to-do list. And I just want to say again, like, each of you has a really important role to play in bringing more diversity to the legal profession. And for the students in the room, I want you to know that you really do have a very important role in progressing that mission. And it's not just because you are there to represent the underrepresented, but I think with your personal stories, your untapped potential, your hopefully, future success, you really are the most compelling reason why all of us should really take the time and contribute to that effort as well.